Hi, Dr. Suzanne here. I got some disturbing news yesterday, and I wanted to talk about it. It relates to the state of Oregon denying female orgasmic disorder as a condition of treatment for medical cannabis. And this has been a 2-year effort. A woman named Rebecca Anderson in Oregon, in the state of Oregon, offered to petition the state with our research and our support back in June. In fact, June 10th, she submitted her petition of 2024 to the state of Oregon. She herself has gone public with her story, sharing that she had a radical hysterectomy, had lost her ability to orgasm, and had dabbled in cannabis, and over a process of 8 months or so, regained her ability to orgasm. So she was, I would say, a great advocate for not just that supported the research, um, but her work, what she experienced supported the research. So there is 50 years of research on cannabis helping women orgasm, going back to, there's a book by let's start with the study. There was a study by Dr. Eric Good in 1969, and he published a book called The Marijuana Smokers in 1970. And that book, he talks about a woman. This was the first time that it was listed that a woman could orgasm through cannabis, right? So he listed about a 27-year-old divorcee who could orgasm only under the influence of cannabis. In 1970, in the same year, another book came out, and this was called The Sexual Power of Marijuana by Barbara Lewis. And she studied also men and women who were using cannabis. Mind you, it was illegal at this time. And bottom line, she talked about 4 women who learned to orgasm when they used cannabis and didn't need it once they learned, once their body had learned. So, fast forward to the last 5 years, I would say, we've had research. 2019, Dr. Becky Lynn's research showed that, and all this research I'm happy to share with you. You can send me an email. My email is info@femaleorgasmresearch.org. You can go to our website and see our own research, our research papers. But Dr. Becky Lynn, in 2019, her study found that women who used cannabis before sex were twice as likely to report orgasm satisfaction. In 2020, there was a study by Alex Kasman and his team out of California with over 400 women, and they used a measurement called the Female Sexual Function Index to evaluate the sexual functioning of women. And their research found that for each increase of cannabis use frequency, female sexual dysfunction, including orgasm difficulty, dropped by 21%. Our own research, the research that I conducted for my dissertation and published and worked with Dr. Jordan Tischler, the vice president of our nonprofit, the Female Orgasm Research Institute, our research found that statistical significance for women with orgasm difficulty for improving orgasm frequency, ease, and satisfaction during partnered sex. So why are all these states, 8 states in all, and I'll give you a list of them, why are they all denying female orgasmic disorder for medical cannabis? Like, what's the problem? Arizona, Arkansas, Colorado, Mississippi, New Mexico, Oregon, Maryland, and Ohio denied it twice. The 2 states that approved it are Illinois, and Connecticut approved it first in June of 2024. Illinois approved female orgasmic disorder and 3 other women's conditions: endometriosis, ovarian cysts, and uterine fibroids. Along with female orgasmic disorder, they were approved in January of 2025. So those 2 states, you can find those conditions listed on their list of qualifying conditions. And you might say, in Mississippi, they said, oh, well, yeah, the state officer rejected it, but you can go get medical cannabis or recreational cannabis. Here's the spot. This is a medical condition, and medical conditions deserve medical treatment. So a woman who, for example, might use cannabis might be not know if she, not everybody wants to turn to cannabis. Some people, in fact, on the Becoming Orgasmic thread with Reddit, will tell me, yeah, that might work, but do you have anything else that you can suggest? I can tell you that right now, having done this research for 6 years, having someone who personally suffered from orgasm difficulty for 30 years and saw 4 different sex therapists over this period of time, worked with Tantra, meditation. I even had a private session with Dr. Betty Dobson when she was still alive in New York City in her apartment. What worked was cannabis. And it was so impactful in my own life in changing my relationship with my sexuality in terms of having access to orgasm, right? We sexualize that. I mean, orgasm is a function of the body. Sleep is a function of the body. Sleep is a necessary function of the body. And I personally believe that orgasm is a necessary function of the body. We just, I want to say, discredit it because typically we think of it as something that's only sexual. But I can tell you that there's plenty of research that shows that women can orgasm with non-genital stimulation. Women can orgasm through tantric breath work. There's a study by Dr. Jim Faust. Recently, he did a study on a woman in Israel who was able to orgasm. She had vaginismus and she had orgasm difficulty. She taught herself, or she went to school for it, tantric breath work and yoga, and they were able to measure through blood plasma her orgasm, basically. And her blood plasma, that was when she would orgasm, and she was able to maintain an orgasmic state, meaning as long as she wanted to hang out there, she could hang out there. And they measured her blood plasma, and her orgasm measurement was equivalent to a genitally stimulated orgasm, or in other words, like a clitorally stimulated orgasm. So also women can experience orgasm through hypnotic induction. Dr. Jim Faust also did a research study on that. And that was also measured. So it's not that cannabis is the only way, but cannabis is a statistically proven way. And these states that keep denying the petition, it's troubling. They've raised the evidentiary bar, meaning, let's take Oregon, for example. Oregon said you need one published study that shows that cannabis is effective in treating this condition. Well, the order that came back, the denial, basically said, oh, you didn't have any randomized controlled trials, and there weren't any diagnosed cases of women with female orgasmic disorder. We had 12 experts speak February 3rd and 4th of 2026 on this topic, giving expert testimony of their own research, and the bar changes when it came to this condition for women. Is this because it was, and I will tell you what I heard. I had heard that the psychiatrists didn't want it approved. That's what I heard. They didn't want it approved. They wanted to keep the medicine in the medicine. They didn't want it to go to cannabis medicine. And, that, I can't tell you who told me that, but I can tell you that I heard that through a reliable source. And it may never come to the public that was said, but I heard it. And, the fact that a state like Oregon that approved PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, only through patient testimony, before there were any published studies, begins to show some of the disparity in this gendered condition for female orgasmic disorder and the decision that they make to deny it. New Mexico is another perfect example. New Mexico, in fact, is the state that added PTSD to their list of qualifying conditions, was the first state to do that. And I believe it was in 2009 when New Mexico added PTSD. No published research, testimonies from case studies and testimonies that said this was helping people with PTSD. So I'm completely supportive of PTSD being added. The point I want to make is they're treating these conditions unfairly. The board, the Medical Cannabis Board for New Mexico, approved by a vote of 7-2, with 2 women actually denying it. The board approved adding female orgasmic difficulty disorder to their list of qualifying conditions, including Dr. Rachel Goodman, for example, who is an OBGYN and really spoke in favor of cannabis being a treatment for female orgasmic disorder. So the board, 7-2, voted to approve it. And when it came back from the state, they said, no, there's no longitudinal data on cannabis being effective. And I'm thinking, your state has recreational cannabis. Like, why are you forcing women to go figure this out themselves? Ohio, let me talk about Ohio for a minute. Ohio denied it 2 years in a row. I flew there 3 times in 2024 for their meetings that were not recorded. And they had 2 doctors, Dr. John White and Dr. Brett Worley, come on and give testimony against adding female orgasmic disorder to the list of qualifying conditions in 2024. Dr. Douglas Wu, a neurologist in Ohio, he petitioned the state in 2025 for female orgasmic disorder and for another condition, what was it? Autism spectrum disorder. And he basically said that one of the women on the board basically said, oh, most women have PTSD who have female orgasmic disorder. So women can go get cannabis for PTSD. So again, bypassing, like, why are we doing this to women? Why are women doing this to women? I think that's the bigger question that I have. I think men in general would want their partners to orgasm. I want to share something briefly with you, and then I'm going to close this since we've been talking for already close to 15 minutes. This was a post that was made 2 hours ago on Reddit, on the Reddit thread Becoming Orgasmic, that has more than 50,000 members. And it was titled, I feel a little hopeless. I am 24 and have never been able to orgasm before. Not by myself, not with my husband. I feel like sometimes when I talk about this, I have people say it sounds like my husband is the problem. I assure you he's not. He's always been great at listening and genuinely puts in the effort. I know I must have some mental block in this way, but I don't know where to start with addressing that. And then she goes on to say that she lost her virginity when she was 19 by rape from a 28-year-old man, and goes on. I mean, that is just one example. There was another post. I mean, daily we read about women who struggle with accessing orgasm. And why are we making it so difficult for women to get treatment? I mean, how many of you have seen an ad on television for erectile dysfunction drugs for men? Why are we making it so difficult for women? Anyway, we are going to go towards legislative change. In the description of this video, you will see womencp.org/join. If you just go to womencp.org, it stands for Women's Cannabis Project. I am the founder of the Women's Cannabis Project, and I'm the founder of the Female Orgasm Research Institute. And I actually modeled the Women's Cannabis Project after the Vets Cannabis Project. Their website no longer exists, but they were very effective in getting PTSD added in virtually in every state except 2. As far as I know, the only 2 states that haven't approved PTSD for medical cannabis treatment are South Dakota and Alaska, and most countries. Yet we petitioned for 12 states so far, 8 denied it, the 2 approved it, and Pennsylvania and New Jersey have been sitting on the petitions for 2 years and have never brought it to a board. And I've tried writing to the states and nothing. So join us if you feel so moved to get state updates on your state, or when you go to the Join Our Movement on the Women's Cannabis Project website, you can also lead your state country. We've had people sign up to lead this week alone, Michigan, Ohio. I've had people from Colombia, France, United Kingdom. We're now working to get 4 women's conditions added. The 4 that were approved in Illinois that I talked about in the beginning of this video, we now want as one package for a women's health bill: endometriosis, ovarian cysts, female orgasmic disorder, and uterine fibroids. So I appreciate you watching. I appreciate your support. I got a fly flying around here. You may have seen him in front of my screen. And thanks for watching. And I welcome your comments and any thoughts that you have. You're welcome to write. Thanks again.